Evening. My name is John Tisserelli. I'm Acting Director of Public Works. Sitting next to me is Joe Garcia. He's Deputy Director for Facilities, which includes City Hall here. Behind me, but slipped away, is Lee Wilcox, Chief of Staff for the Administration. So I'm going to run through a quick presentation that gives you some visuals of some of the ideas that we found, and then we'll open it for discussion. So, quick history. This statue was donated to the city in 1958. It was commissioned by a marble company in Italy, and then it was donated subsequently by a San Jose Civic Club and the Italo-American Societies of San Jose. It was in the original City Hall up First Street, and now it moved here when we moved into this new City Hall. We have had a few things happen to the Columbus statue over the years. It was pretty severely damaged back in 2001 by a person with a sledgehammer. Fast forward to here in the new City Hall, and more recently in the latter part of 2017, there was red and black paint was smeared on the statue in September. Then in October, we had a handful of protesters in City Hall that were confrontational and disrupting business, so security and police had to be involved to rectify the situation. We received direction from the Rules Committee to look into other locations for the Columbus statue. Part of that involved a forum hosted by the San Jose State University. There were about 50 people that showed up. They had 4 professors talking, some students on the panel. It was moderated by Dr. Melinda Jackson, who we'd like to thank for their efforts in helping. It did not produce a solution, although the members who did all spoke in favor of moving the statue. So we have basically 3 options. The fourth option is if you did nothing and it stayed in City Hall. The first option is to potentially store the statue in a collection center that we have for History San Jose, and then donate it at some point when an entity was identified. We do not have an entity identified. We have spoken with a variety of different places, including the Italo-American community here. Right now, there is no one that particularly wants to take the statue as a donation. So this would mean we would crate it up and we would put it in storage until such time as such a donor could be found, or I should say donee. Option 2, and I have a picture here so you can sort of get a sense of what we're talking about. We looked at the International Airport. Terminal A near Gate 9 was identified as a potential spot. You can see the gentleman sitting there in the chairs. If the chairs were removed, it would fit into that spot behind there between the pillar and the wall. That's the spot we have identified currently. Some of the pros of that, of course, would be that it's a more secure location because you have to get through security to get there. Some of the cons, as we've heard from some members of the community, is that they think it would have even more exposure to the public than it does now. Another option would be displaying it at the Bank of Italy in History Park. This is just a small replica museum. This would be the location sort of in front of what looks like a door frame. It's not actually a door. Some of the pros is that it would have a place to be as part of something that's like a museum. However, it's not a super secure location. It's not alarmed or secured. It's generally, there's not availability of the public, so people generally would not see it. And then, of course, the last option is where it is now. That's a picture of it now. We did put that, the block behind it through the window once the vandalism started more recently. There are a couple other items that have come up very recently that I just want to put out there. Some have asked what it would cost to salvage the marble. The cost to salvage the marble is negligible. It's not worth very much, and you can't form it into, say, a counter or anything like that, so it's not very useful. As we mentioned in the memo, I just want to repeat, we're not recommending that the statue be displayed outside. Given the history of vandalism and given some of the tension in the community, we expect that would just create a target for the statue. And then lastly, we've been asked if the council does decide to move the statue out of City Hall, how long would it take to do that? That's anywhere from a 2 to 6 week process depending on where it goes. It has to be disassembled, then packed up. It has to be done by people who know how to do such things. It's very heavy, so it's not something that you just sort of walk up and do. If it's relocated to an area where it would be displayed, then it would have to be unpacked and then reassembled. So the shortest time frame would be if it went into storage, because we wouldn't have to reassemble it. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Any of us are. Thank you.
Yes, well, I do want to thank Councilmember Diep for actually working on this issue. I didn't realize he was working so hard on it. And really, quite frankly, I feel like this is a very divisive issue, and I care about both sides of this issue. I don't think we're going to make anybody really happy here. I'm an immigrant. I'm Palestinian, and my people have been conquered over and over and over and over throughout history. We've had monuments to conquerors go up, go down. My wife is actually an archaeologist, and one thing that I do feel is that we have to learn from our history, and putting away a statue in a closet doesn't teach anybody anything. I think it's important for us to learn from the mistakes of the people who came before us, and I think having a perspective on what this person did is important. So wherever we move it, it's important not to glorify him, but to just state the facts. And so I appreciate the compromise that's being struck here, and I'm willing to support it. But I know that many people are going to be unhappy and divided, and it is very difficult for us here at City Council to unite the community with when the community is so far apart on their wants. I know none of us here want to take any vote on this issue. None of us are comfortable with this, and no matter what, I think we're going to insult somebody. The point to me here is it's better to learn from history rather than try to erase it, and I think that this compromise is adequate. Thank you.